to ABC Radio National Breakfast, and my guest is Social Services Minister Amanda Rishworth. I want to move to another topic that you are also going to be implementing some change on. You're saying you're getting income management, you're getting rid of income management, Minister, but can I confirm that you're keeping the Basics card, which operates in much the same way for people on welfare in the Northern Territory?
Well, at the moment, we are abolishing the cashless debit card, and that is our first step in ensuring that income management is truly voluntary. So the cashless debit card affects about 17,300 people across the country, in Ceduna, in Bundaberg, in a range of places. That is the first piece of legislation that we have put in to ensure that that gets abolished and that we transition people off that card after this bill passes the Parliament. In terms of the Basics card, the income management that predates the cashless debit card, we've said that we want to work with communities in the Northern Territory about what the future of that type of income management looks like. So I would like to have a lot of consultation about that. But our first step is the cashless debit card, and we need to meet with people individually if they don't contact Services Australia to make sure that transition is smooth. So I'm not underestimating the job of transitioning over 17,000 people off that card. So that is the first order of business, and then we will consult around what the future of income management, commonly known as the Basics card, looks like.
So, Minister, to be fair, you're not actually getting rid of income management. You're getting rid of one element.
Well, our commitment in the election was to abolish the cashless debit card, which we're doing. We have said...
It's not the end of income management,
Well, we
though.
never said there would be the end of income management. We said there would always be a voluntary income management option for individuals that chose it or communities that chose it. And I would point to the Cape York, who has a structure in place called the Family Responsibilities Commission, who have said that they want still the option to refer people to income management. So we're keeping that in the legislation. When it comes to the Basics card, which is broad-based in the Northern Territory, we want to consult about how we move forward with that.
Those remaining on the Basics card, particularly in the Northern Territory, as you know, are overwhelmingly Indigenous. Do you understand that for many people that have written into our program, they see this as a racial, basically a policy that some have described to me as racist, that the NT remains on income management, Aboriginal people stay on it, and in fact the people who come off are largely white?
Well, I'd make the first point, the cashless debit card affected predominantly First Nations people as well, and that is why we have taken steps to remove it. When it comes to the Northern Territory, as I said, I want to consult with communities. There are some communities that have indicated that they would like to stay on as a community on income management, and we need to work through how that looks like. Cape York, as I said, has a model of a referral process. Some states and territories have a referral process for child protection, for example. I'd like to consult and work through that. But the first step is the cashless debit card. It was due to sunset in December. We have over 17,000 people to work with to transition off that card. I want to do that in a responsible manner. But I do also want to reassure people that once the legislation goes through, if you want to get off it, there will be no hoops to jump. You'll merely have to ring up Services Australia to get off that card.
Okay, but if you're on a Basics card and you're an individual and you don't want to be on that Basics card, but perhaps your community has agreed to be on it, should there be the ability to come off?
Well, that is going to be a conversation that we need to have when it comes to the Basics card with the communities, with the Northern Territory, and I am committed to do that, as I said.
And what time frame? Sorry to interrupt. What sort of time frame is that going to happen?
Well, our first order of business is to get people off the cashless debit card. That time frame, once the legislation goes through the Parliament, is baked into the legislation. That'll be no longer than 6 months. So it's a big piece of work once the legislation goes through, and then I will be turning my attention to consulting with communities around the basics.
And how long will
card.
that consultation go for?
How long's a piece of string, Patricia? We're going to work through this to make sure that people have a voice. But what I'm committed to is listening to First Nations communities about this issue and making sure that they have a say over their the things that govern them. And I have to say that was what was very concerning, particularly about some of the trial sites with the cashless debit card. I mean, when it comes to Bundaberg and Hervey Bay, the decision was made because the local member wanted it. It was almost like an election commitment to impose this card on broad base, everyone over 35, to say you have to go on this card. That was almost like an election commitment from the local member. That is not local decision making.
But in terms of, just on the first principles, if you think the basic card still has merit, for those that don't know, cashless card is different, but the same principles, doesn't it demonstrate that perhaps the principles work, or that you have some sympathy that the principles work?
Well, as we've said, there will be an option for voluntary income management. But if we go back to the cashless debit card, one of the other problems with it, it was actually not run by government. It was run by a privatised company. Inshu was the company that had a bank account and that you dealt with if you had a problem with your card. And we heard countless stories of having problems with the card, and you had to contact a privatised company. So there was concerns with that part of it. There were concerns with the 80% that was stored on the card, that you couldn't access cash. And I heard countless stories where you can't buy a second-hand fridge because you didn't have enough cash. So you had to go and buy a new fridge. And the ability to manage money was very difficult. So I think there were some principles. We need to work through what income management looks like. But I've made a commitment to communities that if income management is something they would like into the future, then that will be a voluntary option. And there will be some people that will choose that. But we're not going to have broad community across a community because the local member decided it was so.
Final one, Minister, on another question in relation